Imagine you are the last person alive on Earth. Not the last person in a city. Not the last person in a country. The absolute last human being on the entire planet. Every other person who has ever lived or who was living is gone. And now it is your turn. You are dying. And in your final moments, before everything goes dark, you open your eyes one last time. What do you see? This is not a hypothetical designed to disturb you. It is a question that forces you to confront something most people spend their entire lives avoiding. What is it actually like to be the last? What does the world look like when there is no one left to observe it? And what does that tell us about why any of this exists at all? Let us start with the world itself. If you are the last human alive, the planet around you would look nothing like the world you know. Within a few decades of humanity disappearing, nature reclaims everything with extraordinary speed. Researchers who have studied abandoned human settlements, most famously the city of Pripyat near Chernobyl, which was evacuated in 1986, found that within just a few years of humans leaving, forests began growing through the floors of buildings. Animals moved into streets. Rooftops collapsed under the weight of vegetation. Within a century, almost every trace of human construction begins to dissolve back into the earth. Glass shatters, metal corrodes, concrete crumbles. The things we built, the things we believed would last forever, return to dust far faster than we ever imagined. So if you are the last person alive and humanity has been fading for some time, the world around you in your final moments might be almost unrecognizable. Cities overrun with forest, highways cracked apart by roots and weather, rivers flowing freely through what were once bridges and tunnels. The air would be cleaner than any air any human has breathed in centuries. The sky at night would be darker and more filled with stars than anything your grandparents ever saw, because there would be no artificial light left anywhere on the planet. Just darkness and stars and the sounds of a world that has been healing. You would be lying somewhere because dying people lie down, perhaps in a building that is half consumed by vines, with light coming through gaps in the ceiling where the roof has given way. Perhaps outdoors on ground that has reclaimed itself. And in your final moments, the things you would see would be the same things human beings have always seen in their final moments. Not the grand sweep of history, not the monuments of civilization, just the immediate, light, shadow, the movement of something nearby, a bird perhaps, or the wind in branches, the texture of whatever surface is beneath you, the quality of the sky above. Research on end-of-life experiences consistently shows that dying people orient toward the concrete and the immediate. Psychologist and palliative care researcher Ira Byock, who has spent decades working with dying patients, has written extensively about what people actually experience and focus on in their final hours. It is almost never the abstract. It is almost never the philosophical. It is the faces of people they loved, the smell of something familiar, the feeling of warmth, the sound of a voice. The last person on earth would have none of those things. No faces, no voices, no warmth offered by another human hand. And that absence would be the most profound thing about the experience. Because here is what the neuroscience of dying actually tells us. The brain does not go quietly. Research by Jima Borjajan, a neuroscientist at the University of Michigan, has found evidence that in the moments immediately following cardiac arrest, the brain can produce a surge of neural activity. In studies conducted first on rats and later with human patients, Borjajan and her colleagues detected a burst of highly organized electrical activity in the brain in the seconds after the heart stops. The brain, in its final moments, is not fading. It is, in some sense, intensifying. The nature of that intensification, what it feels like from the inside, what images or experiences it might produce, remains one of the most contested and fascinating questions in all of neuroscience. But the implication is significant. The last thing the last human brain experiences may not be darkness. It may be something else entirely, something vivid, something that the dying brain generates from the inside, independent of anything in the external world. Many people who have had near-death experiences, studied extensively by researchers including Pim van Lommel, a Dutch cardiologist who conducted a landmark prospective study of over 300 cardiac arrest survivors published in The Lancet in 2001, report experiences of extraordinary clarity and vividness. Light, presence, a sense of expansion rather than contraction. Whether these experiences are a product of a brain in its final biochemical storm, or something else entirely, is a question science has not yet answered. But the consistency of these reports across cultures, across languages, across people who had no prior knowledge of what others had experienced, is remarkable. The dying brain seems to produce something that feels, to the person experiencing it, more real than ordinary waking life. So what would the last person see? In their final seconds, the external world would be irrelevant. The overgrown city, the dark sky filled with stars, the silence where human voices used to be, all of it would fall away. What would remain is whatever the brain generates in its final surge. And based on everything we know about the dying brain, that experience would likely feel, to the person having it, like an opening rather than a closing. But there is a deeper question underneath all of this. If you are the last person alive, then you are the last observer. You are the last consciousness that exists on this planet to perceive anything. When you close your eyes for the final time, the world does not disappear. The trees are still there. The rivers are still flowing. The stars are still burning. But there is no longer anyone to perceive them. And that raises a question that philosophers have argued over for centuries. Does the world exist in any meaningful sense without someone to observe it? Physicist and philosopher David Chalmers has called this the hard problem of consciousness, the question of why and how physical processes in the brain give rise to subjective experience, to the feeling of what it is like to be something. No one has solved it, but the image of the last person dying forces it into sharp focus. Because when that last consciousness goes dark, what remains is matter without experience. The universe without a witness. And here is the thing that might surprise you. The scientific consensus is that the universe does not need a witness to exist. The trees would still grow. The stars would still burn. Physics would continue operating exactly as it always has, indifferent to whether anything is watching. But human meaning, human significance, human love and suffering and beauty, all of those things are generated inside consciousness. They do not exist in the rocks or the rivers. They exist in the experience of beings who are capable of caring. And when the last one dies, all of that ends too. Not the universe, but everything that ever mattered inside it. The last person to die on Earth would be the last repository of everything humanity ever was. Every story ever told. Every song ever sung. Every discovery ever made. Every moment of love or cruelty or wonder that any human being ever experienced. All of it living in some fragmentary way in the last nervous system on the planet. And then gone. That thought is not designed to make you feel hopeless. It is designed to make you feel the opposite. Because you are not the last person. Not even close. You are surrounded by 7 billion other repositories of experience. Other consciousnesses generating meaning and love and beauty in real time. Right now, in this moment. The fact that there will eventually be a last person does not diminish what it means to not be the last person. Clarifies it. Every moment of genuine connection, every moment of genuine attention to the world around you, is something that will one day no longer be possible. The last person on Earth would open their eyes one final time. They would see light and shadow and the breathing of a world that does not need them but was shaped entirely by people like them. And then they would close their eyes, and the universe would continue, vast and indifferent and extraordinary, with no one left inside it to know that it was. Which means the only thing that has ever given any of this meaning is that you are here right now, reading this, capable of knowing that it matters. That is not nothing. That is everything.